that we need to make sure that we do as writers is consider who we're writing to. You need to always consider who's your audience. A lot of times novelists will allow someone to interpret their work however they want to. And the reader might say, well, I interpreted your novel this way, and the author says, oh, that's fantastic. And another one says, well, I interpreted it that way, and the author says, well, that's fantastic. But with technical writing, we really have to make sure that there's one interpretation, and we consider our audience and consider their education level, their background, their gender, their age. All of these things play a part into who your audience is all the time. One thing that I noticed whenever I'm grading student papers is that oftentimes students are repeating words or phrases, and then I start hearing the word or the phrase and I lose the content of what the student is writing about. And so one thing that I find myself always writing on student papers is rephrase, don't repeat. And so you shouldn't repeat a word or a phrase for about 4 pages, because then maybe I've forgotten about it. Cover letters are one of the hardest things to write, I think. If students will put the same heading on their cover letter as what they put on their resume, it makes it look like letterhead. And so it takes up some of the white space. Again, it makes those documents look like they go together, and it makes for a professional appearance. Whenever you're writing a cover letter, it should be about 1 page. It would be a great idea if you would have some bulleted lists, a bulleted list in that cover letter rather than thick paragraphs. Pull a couple of things off the resume to highlight. And so even if you haven't had a lot of work experience, instead of saying that you took a class, talk about a project that you did in that class that could translate better into the workplace. Because the person who reads that, first of all, they have 12 more to read, so they're going to skim. So make it easy for them to skim. Highlight a couple of things off of your resume, and then you need to end with some kind of an action. Give them an action. I would love to visit with you further about this. Please call me at your earliest convenience and then give your contact information again. Finally, I think that it's a really good idea to always have an editor. Anytime I have to turn something in, I always have somebody else read it first, or I let it sit for a time and then I go back to it and I read it again. One of the best things if you have a paper to turn in is to have someone else read your work to you while you watch on the page. Because if you wrote it, you're not going to be able to edit it very effectively, because you're going to insert what is supposed to be there even if it's not there. And don't let Word be your editor. There are a lot of things that students miss whenever they count on Word to do the editing for them.